We know exactly how our physical lives end. Our bodies fail, our time runs out, and we die. But regarding what happens the moment after that sand runs out, human beings are entirely blind. That gap in our knowledge produces profound psychological anxiety. To cope with the absolute unknown, almost every surviving human culture has constructed a detailed map of the afterlife. This map illustrates recent data from the Pew Research Center, tracking global belief in life after death. You see massive majorities in places like Indonesia at 85% and the United States at 70%. The psychological need for this continuation is so strong that even when looking specifically at Americans who claim no religious affiliation at all, 42% of them still expect their existence to carry on after death. Almost everyone on Earth expects to go somewhere when they die. But the specific geometric shapes they assign to that eternal journey completely dictate how they behave while they are still alive. Look at the Abrahamic and Zoroastrian traditions, and you find a linear framework. Existence is a straight line. You are born, you live, you die, and you face a final divine judgment. Because this timeline only moves in one direction and ends in a definitive fork, earthly life becomes a single high-stakes test. Every action you take determines a permanent reward or a permanent punishment. Some interpretations add intermediate stops along this path. Catholic theology, for instance, includes purgatory, a temporary phase of purification required before a soul can complete its journey to heaven. The strict boundaries of these Catholic realms were defined and categorized by theological architects like St. Thomas Aquinas in the 13th century. Other traditions soften this strict geography. In the Baha'i faith, heaven and hell are not physical locations at the end of a line, but rather a symbolic continuum representing a soul's nearness to or distance from God. If we step away from the line, we find the web. In many indigenous and traditional belief systems, the dead do not depart for a distant realm. Instead, ancestral spirits remain present, weaving into the daily lives of their descendants. This visualization of Pew survey data tracks where these active spirit webs are most prominent. We see 79% of adults in South Africa and half of the population in Colombia expressing the belief that their ancestors can actively help or harm them today. Whether you are walking a straight line to judgment or living within a web of active ancestors, death serves as a transition to a permanent status, and reaching a favorable status requires strict, lifelong preparation. Traditions originating in India, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, abandon the line and the web in favor of the circle. The central mechanism here is samsara. It is the belief that a soul is trapped on a continuous wheel of birth, death, and reincarnation, propelled forward by the accumulated karma of past actions. Across 35 countries surveyed, 1/3 of all adults believe they will literally be reborn into this physical world again and again. But the ultimate objective within this circular geometry is the exact opposite of the Abrahamic traditions. You are not trying to attain eternal life. Your goal is to escape the cycle of existence entirely, achieving a state of spiritual liberation or nirvana. Breaking out of this loop requires shedding earthly attachments and dissolving the individual ego until the self merges completely into a greater, universal consciousness. If you are following a timeline to heaven or trying to break off the wheel of rebirth, your worldview treats mortal life as a profound problem that must be solved. What if the cure to our fear of mortality does not require plotting an escape route or passing a cosmic test? Taoism offers a radical alternative centered on the Tao. This translates roughly to the way, the fluid, unwritten natural order of the cosmos. Cultivated by ancient Chinese philosophers like Laozi and Zhuangzi, this tradition favors seeking harmony with nature over building highly structured theological institutions. Taoism rejects strict lines and repeating circles. It views life and death simply as equal, natural phases, like the changing of the seasons. In the ancient Zhuangzi texts, a carpenter dreams of a massive, gnarled tree. The tree explains that its twisted wood made it useless to loggers, and that very uselessness allowed it to survive to an old age. The parable illustrates that you thrive not by striving for utility or profit, but by remaining your unaltered natural self. Another text tells of a farmer whose horse runs away. When neighbors offer condolences, he says, maybe. The horse returns with more horses. Good luck, they say. Maybe, he replies. His son breaks a leg training a new horse, which then spares the boy from a military draft. The story models the wisdom of non-judgment, accepting that unpredictable change is simply the nature of existence. This philosophy relies on the concept of wu wei, which means acting by not acting. You find profound peace by yielding to the world, letting things happen naturally instead of forcefully fighting the current. Most global religions address our anxiety about death by drawing detailed maps of the unknown. Taoism suggests that our deepest peace comes from putting the map away, wandering freely into the mystery, and accepting our place in the natural world.